I'd like to call this meeting of the Sterling Heights City Council to order. Please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear God, please bless our elected officials. Grant them courage and wisdom to do what is right for all citizens. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Mrs. Riska. Can we please have the roll call?
Mayor Taylor?
Here.
Mrs. Sarowski?
Here.
Mrs. Koski?
Present.
Mr. Radke?
Present.
Mrs. Schmidt?
Present.
Mr. Yanez?
Here.
Mrs. Zarko?
Present.
Thank you, Council. We need approval of the agenda.
Mr. Mayor,
Mrs. Koski.
move to approve the agenda with the addition of consent agenda item 8.0 to set a special city council meeting for Tuesday, May 21 at 6 p.m. for the purpose of recognizing the 2019 recipients of scholarship awarded by the Community Foundation.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? No discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on our agenda is a report from our city manager, Mark Vanderpool. Mr. Vanderpool.
Thank you, Mayor. First, a couple of housekeeping items. The plant exchange program, which is sponsored by the Sterling Heights Beautification Commission, will be on May 11th at 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. at our Nature Center. Always a really popular program, a free event, allows gardeners to exchange plants of various varieties. And if you have any interest in attending this or would like to learn more about it, feel free to call 446-CITY. Again, that's May 11th from 10 a.m. to noon at the Nature Center. And also we have our Sterling Heights Police Department Law Day ceremony on May 16th. That's a Thursday, and that'll be at 10 a.m. at the north entrance of City Hall. If there's inclement weather, we'll do it here in the council chambers. Again, that's the Sterling Heights Police Department Law Day on May 16th. And Mayor, I'd like to take a minute to introduce our building official, Mike Vyazenko, who's going to talk about, first he's going to showcase a unique program that the city coordinated and sponsored this past Saturday that was very successful at Home Depot. And he's going to take a couple of minutes to talk about a new online permitting system that he and his team developed. So I'd like to turn over the floor to our building official, Mike Vyazenko.
Mr. Vyazenko.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor, members of council, Mr. Vanderpool. Tonight I'd like to share a short video with you of an event that we did last Saturday when we partnered with Home Depot to bring awareness for Building Safety Month.
Parents looking for ways to keep the little ones busy while completing home projects on the weekends are well aware of the Kids Workshop events held at the Home Depot. While the kids work hard on their crafts, the adults gather supplies for spring projects. With that in mind, the building department joined forces with the Home Depot on May 4th to bring awareness to the International Code Council Building Safety Month. And this year's theme, No Code, No Confidence.
This kicks off the busy time of year. We're getting closer to Memorial Day. Residents want to get that pool installed. They want to build that deck or maybe put up that shed. We have brochures and information available to anybody today and on our city website that we can educate the public so that their permitting process is a smooth process. And basically what we're trying to promote is how important construction codes are and how they can save people's lives and the reasons we have them.
Electrical Inspector Rick Thomas was also at the event providing the good advice of reaching out to the city before getting to work.
You call us and we'll walk you through the process step by step. And when you do it this way, it eliminates the problems that comes later on. If you start the project without the city's involvement, you may not know exactly what you need, and then you run into problems, and now you're trying to go back to the beginning to fix them. So it's always better to, before you do anything, to contact the city and then we'll let you know exactly what you need to do. And this way, it eliminates the headaches before they begin.
The city's newest community outreach and engagement officer, Dwayne Casbar, used the event to introduce himself to residents and to remind parents to keep an eye on their children while working on those home projects.
You know, if you have younger children, you know, making sure the parents are always aware of their surroundings, you know, so that way if they are doing any projects, you know, that they're, you know, keeping their children out of the way of getting hit maybe by, you know, a big one of these pieces of boards. You know, pool safety, we've had a lot of children last year that fell into pools because they were left unattended, and making sure that they're safe in that aspect.
Also taking advantage of the large gathering of families at the Kids Workshop event, Fire Inspector Captain Ferguson brought a display of his own and kept the building theme in mind, while reminding residents to make a plan to escape their homes in the event of an emergency.
Measure twice, cut once. Same thing with fire safety. It's always best to be safe than to be sorry. So little things like planning an exit drill in your home. A lot of people suffer from the John Wayne complex. They think that they're going to rise to the occasion when an accident happens or an emergency happens. But as they say in the military, you shall not rise to the occasion, but rather you shall falter to your level of training. So if you haven't trained or drilled in an area, you're not going to perform well when an actual emergency happens. So we can't stress enough, emergency drills in the home are very important.
While kids were able to leave Home Depot with their own completed workshop projects, parents left the event equipped with more knowledge on how to take on those summer projects safely.
At this time, I'd like to take to highlight a few changes that have been taking place within the building department. As you learned during the budget workshop, the planning and engineering department have begun taking in site plans electronically for review in lieu of paper copies. While the building department works on transitioning into the same process, this is a little bit more complicated. We will begin by reviewing plans for larger commercial projects within this year. We recently created an innovative way of doing business. We are currently in the process of replacing all our outdated tablets that have been used for over the last 4 years and are beginning to use the new iPads that are much easier to navigate. Last week, I worked with our IT department to develop a streamlined process for people to access our online permitting process by creating a new QR code. This will provide some flexibility to get a permit anytime, day or night. You will no longer be restricted to normal working hours. People can access our website quickly if they choose to do so. That will give them quite a bit of information, and they also have the option to scan the QR code on their smartphone. By downloading this free app, they have the ability of navigating through on their phone. Recently, Community Relations has also added a quick link to the city's website homepage to navigate people to the same page. These links provide quite a bit of information quickly. For an example, they can view online guides that give them information that homeowners may be looking for to do a project around their house. They can print out a permit application if they choose to come in and still pick up a permit at the building department to reduce time waiting in line. And most importantly, they can obtain a permit online. The permits available for this feature are the plumbing, the mechanical, electrical, and roofing permits. No longer waiting in line at the building department, and at this time of year can take some time. Dealing with road construction or even trying to fit one more thing to do before 5 p.m. becomes very difficult. People don't have to even leave their house or office to get a permit now. For a minimal fee of $8.50, they can follow 6 simple steps to get a permit, and all they have to do is fill out the forms. They begin by inputting the property information, the type of permit that they're seeking, fill out their information for the permit application, choose the right pieces, the right information for the permit. They even have the ability of attaching any documents, and then submit your application. Once the permit is submitted, they will be prompted to make the payment. It's that simple. The permit is now issued. If you consider the cost to drive to City Hall, you will spend more than that in gasoline. Once your permit is approved, you can also utilize the same options to actually schedule an inspection. The applicant can schedule a day that is convenient for them. By requesting an inspection online, you will get an email of the inspection results once it's completed. Since the field inspectors have new tablets, the results are instant. This is an easy way to keep records of your inspections. Online services does save time and money. The building department is always looking for ways to be more efficient and ways to elevate the levels of service that we do provide. Thank you.
And we look forward to, again, advancing our e-commerce, e-government efforts, and this is just one more example. And Mayor, lastly, at the conclusion of tonight's agenda, I'm requesting that the City Council convene a closed session pursuant to Section 8E and H of the Open Meetings Act to consult with the city attorney regarding 2 confidential written legal opinions and to discuss legal strategy in connection with the city's pending litigation in Macomb County Circuit Court case number 2017-00052-AS. And that concludes my report this evening. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Vanderpool. Next item on our agenda is a presentation. This is a yearly presentation every year around this time. This is to adopt a resolution recognizing May 11th, 2019 as Letter Carriers Food Drive Day in the city of Sterling Heights and encouraging residents to donate food to this worthy cause. We have a presentation from the Food Drive Coordinator from Branch 4374. That's Mike Sheridan. Good to see you again, Mr. Sheridan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. This is our 27th annual food drive, taking place always the second Saturday in May. 10,000 cities across America. The good citizens of Sterling Heights have always been very generous, donating anywhere from 70, I think our record was 85,000 pounds of food. My goal is to get 1 pound of food per resident, so we've got a ways to go to get to 120-some thousand, but you will be getting a Kroger bag attached to the postcard. Should be coming in your mail tomorrow. I saw them distributing it to the carriers today. We could not do this without the volunteer effort, so I want to encourage you all to show up at the back of the post office and get ready to sort 40 tons of food on Saturday. If you could show up anywhere from 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, we'll get you working. We load the food into 4x4 Gaylords, and it's all transported to the Macomb Food Warehouse in Clinton Township for distribution to 50 pantries, over 50 pantries throughout Macomb County. Last year, the Macomb Food Program distributed over 2.1 million pounds of food to the hungry of Macomb County. So it's a valiant effort. We do rely on the Teamsters of Local 299 they volunteer the trucks and the drivers volunteer their time. We usually fill up at least 4 semis coming out of Sterling Heights every year. And we always look forward, over the last 26 years, we've collected 1.67 billion pounds of food nationwide. So this is a nationwide food drive. Where does it take place? Right at your mailbox. Just leave your non-perishable food items by your mailbox. Your carrier as well as the volunteers. We have family, friends, co-workers, all volunteering their efforts that day. It is a monumental effort, but we do appreciate the proclamation in the city of Sterling Heights, where I delivered mail for over 33 years and been retired for 12 years, but they will not allow me to retire from the food drive, and I'm happy to participate. So thank you very much for your efforts. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Sheridan, and for everything you do for this worthy cause. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak on this item? If not, council, we do have a resolution.
Mayor Taylor,
Mrs. Sarowski.
Resolved to adopt the resolution recognizing Saturday, May 11th, 2019 as Letter Carriers Food Drive Day in the city of Sterling Heights and encouraging residents to donate food to this worthy cause.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion?
I think it speaks for itself. We can never give enough, and anyone who can give even a little bit is giving as much as they can. So please, residents, give what you can. They're there to take it, so you just have to put it out on your porch. So again, thank you, Mike, for all your help.
Thank you, Ms. Sarowski. Anyone else, council? With no further discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Good luck, Mike, and thank you again. Next item on our agenda tonight is a public hearing, and this is the 2019-2020 budget public hearing and adoption. We have a presentation from our Finance and Budget Director, Jennifer Varney. Mrs. Varney.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Koszewski, and members of council. The city charter requires that a formal public hearing be held on the budget before its adoption. First, a brief overview of the budget highlights that we have discussed. The proposed budget was submitted to City Council on March 29th, 2019. For the past 6 weeks, the budget has been available for public inspection on the city's website, at the city's clerk's office, and at the library. In addition, the City Council held 2 budget workshops on April 9th and April 23rd to review the proposed spending plan. So let's just briefly review. The proposed city budget totals $246.8 million, and the breakdown between the major funds can be seen on this chart. The total budget increased by $2.5 million or 1% over last year. And the primary components are the construction costs of a new building for the Department of Public Works and the related debt service. Increased local road funding of $2.7 million that will allow for the sectional repair or total reconstruction of 30 neighborhood streets. And these increases were offset by decreases in spending in major road expenditures, and that is a result of rolling back the 1 mil property tax increase that allowed for increased spending in the prior year. There's also lower spending on the recreating recreation projects, as most of the projects are nearing completion. The Local Development Finance Authority expenditures were also lower, as projects for last year were Sterling Center Drive and Sterling Ponds Boulevard were budgeted last year. And finally, general fund expenditures are down about $100,000 over last year, primarily due to a decrease in the general fund transfer to major roads and offset by increases to wages, pension contributions, software maintenance costs, and employee training. The general fund budget totals $105.3 million and includes a $1 million contribution to general fund balance. Total general fund balance is projected to be at $26.9 million at the end of fiscal year 2020, at about 25.6% of general fund expenditures. Although major road expenditures are down when compared to last year, significant investments are still being made into the major road system. For the calendar year of 2019, $23.2 million of road improvements will be made. Major road projects include 14, 18, and 19-mile roads, as well as Merrill Road, Metro Parkway, Shaner, and Utica Road. And local road construction will be seen on these 18 neighborhood streets, as well as asphalt resurfacing of Fox Hill, Fortner, and Starrett. And residents can visit the Cone Zone section of the website or pick up a Cone Zone flyer at City Hall to stay up to date during the very busy construction season. The budget continues investing in new and replacement capital items. Some examples: 19 new police vehicles, a replacement of a very old street sweeper, 2 tandem axle dump trucks with plows, and all-wheel drive vehicles for building and code enforcement. Other capital equipment includes 2 high-speed ballot tabulators, 5 automatic CPR machines, replacement air packs for the fire department, and an integrated financial system that will streamline data sharing throughout all departments. And infrastructure improvements include a new building for DPW, upgrades to the city hall entrances and the exterior of the police department and the library, renovations to the Upton House, and the first year of a 3-year project to replace the heating and cooling system at the senior center, and a large sidewalk repair program that will encompass neighborhoods east of Dodge Park from 16 to 17 Mile. We will also see the second year of investments of the proceeds from the $20 million facilities improvement bonds, starting with continued renovations at the 41 District Court this spring and summer, and then moving on to the police department, city hall, and public library by the end of the year. Technology upgrades will include conference room presentation equipment and upgrades to the wireless network and security cameras. The budget also funds a net increase of 7 for full-time personnel, including a police sergeant, a fleet mechanic dedicated to ambulance maintenance, a recreation superintendent, and a parks maintenance mechanic. The budget continues to fully fund long-term liabilities at a total increase of $925,000 over last year, ensuring continuing progress towards full funding. The tax rate will decrease by 0.9735 due to the promised rollback of the 1 mil increase. Our tax rate is once again one of the lowest of Macomb County cities and is 5.9 mils less than the county average. And the average selling price of a single-family home increased 6.7% last year, but taxable values are capped by inflation, so they will increase only 2.4%. The average city tax bill will be $102 per month for all city services. The appropriations ordinance is a legislative vehicle that allows for the expenditure of funds throughout the city. The ordinance reflects the city council's plans for expenditures and revenues and sets the total property millage rate at 16.2069 to fund those expenditures. The appropriations ordinance was introduced at the April 9th city council meeting, and since then we've had the following changes. $8,500 was added to fund uniforms for the CERT and the Citizens Patrol. $20,000 was added to fund a staffing study for the fire department. The city council training budget was decreased by $20,000, and funding of just under $10,000 was removed for membership in the National League of Cities. These 4 changes resulted in a net decrease to the general fund expenditures of just under $1,500. And finally, there were slight changes to the millage rates since introduction as we received the final taxable values from assessing. And with these changes, Mr. Mayor, the final amended appropriations ordinance is now ready to be adopted.
All right, thank you very much, Mrs. Varney. At this time, I'll open up the public hearing. Is there anyone who'd like to speak on this item? Mr. Jefferson?
Charles Jefferson, Sterling Heights. If anyone has any complaints about how the money was spent this year, you should have been down here. There was not very much attendance in these budget meetings, so if you're on the internet or anything like that, please keep your opinion to yourself. You didn't show up and you didn't bother to participate. Also, I would like to ask Mike Radke, could he put an amendment to the appropriation budget for metal detectors here at City Hall? It's we had a shooting today. We had a shooting since the last meeting. Time's ticking, and it's time for us to keep being safe. So we need to start really looking into getting the metal detectors down here at City Hall. Thank you.
Mrs. Marcinak?
Good evening, Mary Marcinak. This is the perfect time during the budget process, now that you're adopting the budget, to again request, Mr. Vanderpool, I'm coming for you. Fire hydrants, can we get them all painted this year? You started 2 years ago. You're painting a couple here, a couple there over the years. Can somebody tonight please reappropriate some of the monies to paint and make sure all the fire hydrants work? The city has spent well over $1 million on artsy-fartsy stuff. And to me, tells more about the city? When you have painted, maintained fire hydrants. But the good news is, Utica is worse than Sterling Heights. Because I happen to be driving down Van Dyke, and it's like, oh my God, these things they haven't been touched since the 50s. Anyway, please, somebody take care of those fire hydrants. That would be, and I'm gonna tell everyone here tonight, and at home, watching, it's a council election year. You see a nasty fire hydrant, call your council members and tell them to get it painted and make sure that they work. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Marcinak. Anyone else? Thank you, sir.
Oh, gosh.
Careful.
Tharan Savarna, I would like to just say you guys are doing an awesome job with the budget. And to answer Ms. Smith's question last council meeting about the tennis courts, I would say that I love them. I play on them every week, at least twice to 3 times a week. So those are good to go. So, and that's all. Thanks.
All right, thank you, sir. Mr. Marshall-Owens?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, Mr. Vanderpool. The thing that I'm interested in is Ms. Varney publishes an excellent document, much like her predecessor did, but it's fraught with numbers that nobody really understands other than possibly the council people and mayor and her. I noticed also in the newspaper they were talking about everybody supporting an extension of the Safe Streets millage. I think what we really need to do is free up Ms. Varney to publish a budget statement that really says what the city needs to operate on the level that the citizens would really like to see it operated on. Unfortunately, the state has reneged on their commitments to support the cities, and the cities are doing what they can to pull themselves through. But at the same rate, if we have to keep coming up with special millage things, programs, obviously the city needs more money. I think we may have to bite the bullet. Residents that pay taxes are adults. They can take a little bad news. If they haven't had bad news by now, they never will. But there is going to be a requirement for a tax increase. Either that or we have to keep coming up with special issues and trying to push them through so that we can keep a good police department, fire department. Our DPW guys have done an excellent job on the roads. All the departments are operating excellent in an excellent format, except it just takes some bucks to make it happen. And somewhere down the line, we're going to have to quit farting around with this thing. And of course, I am disappointed with the fact that we spent all that money on what the lady said was artsy-fartsy stuff, and then we turn around and we suck around trying to pass a millage issue to get things that we really need. So I'm disappointed in that, but I really think we're going to have to face a tax increase at some time. Otherwise, every election we're going to be voting on special stuff and the city can't really function effectively if they don't know how much money they're going to have. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Marshall-Owens. Anyone else on this item? If not, I'll close the public hearing, and council, we need a motion.
Mayor Taylor,
Mrs. Zarko.
be it ordained to adopt the annual appropriations ordinance as amendment for the 2019-20 fiscal year with the following property tax millage rates. 9.4940 mils for operations, 1.0038 mils for refuge collection, 2.1984 mils for police and fire pension, 2.4505 mils for safe streets, 0.9506 mils for recreation, and 0.1096 mils for public improvements, Proposal F, for a total property tax levy of 16.2069 mils.
Support. It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion, Mrs. Zarko?
First of all, I have to thank everybody that helped us get to this point so that we can approve this tonight, and certainly Ms. Varney and her team and all the directors. But I think Mr. Marshallone does make a good comment when he talks about safe streets. But the way things sit now with how we can increase and staying below the Headley, that we know that safe streets is probably going to be perpetual, and that every so often, we're going to have to renew it. It's something that is going to stay with us. But what I really like about it, it's the residents that are making that decision. I think the council has taken the city as far as we can go with adjusting millage rates. And for anything else, I really think that the residents need to approve those expenditures just like they did for safe streets and for recreation. That's your opportunity to tell us exactly what you want and what you need. Nothing further.
Thank you, Mrs. Zarko. Mrs. Schmidt, anything?
I have nothing.
Council, anyone else on this item?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Radke.
I agree with Councilwoman Zarko that Safe Streets seems to be here to stay. So I just recommend that my colleagues take up a 10-year renewal of Safe Streets. If it's here to stay, let's give ourselves the budgetary leeway so that we know it's here to stay, instead of having to have an election for it every 6 years. That's all I have to say, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Radke. Anyone else on this item? If not, I would just thank all of the city administration, particularly Mrs. Varney, for your hard work on this budget. We truly have kind of gone on without missing a beat since you've taken over, and we appreciate your leadership and stewardship of this very important finance and budget process. I also think it's important to note that, you know, a year ago, we came as a council and proposed a pretty bold thing to do with the roads. And whenever you raise taxes and whenever you make a promise that you're going to roll them back, I know there were a lot of people that thought that day will never happen, and I'll truly only believe it when I see it. I'm proud of this council for keeping its word and being true to its word. It was certainly something that was necessary last year, but it's good to see that the taxpayers will get some relief and go back to the rate basically that they were at, and that we were at, I should say, in 2017. I think this budget very accurately reflects our priorities for the upcoming year. Certainly there was some disagreement at the last council meeting. I won't rehash that, but I'm confident that this is a good budget that the residents can be proud of. So without any further discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on our agenda is another public hearing, and this is to consider the application by Ultimate Hydroforming Incorporated for an industrial facilities tax exemption for certificate at 42605 Van Dyke Avenue. We have a presentation from our Senior Economic Development Advisor, Luke Bonner. Mr. Bonner.
Good evening, Mayor Taylor, members of council, City Manager Vanderpool. It's the first meeting I've been to where the technical term fart's been used 3 times within about 10 minutes. Very excited, actually, when we get to do industrial facilities exemption certificate applications, because it's a reminder of the amount of manufacturing investment and job creation that goes on in the community. In this particular case, I think the applicant, which is Ultimate Hydroforming, has long been the best kept secret in the city of Sterling Heights. Is one of our leading manufacturers and has grown considerably as one of our larger employers. They have slowly and quietly established a multi-building campus on Urigo Drive, which now encompasses 6 buildings, one of which they recently expanded a few years ago. And now, this evening, they're applying for an IFEC for 42605 Van Dyke. This building was brought before council on August 1st, 2017 as a speculative building. constructed by Mancini Enterprises at the time, obviously with no tenant. It was a shell, essentially, that was constructed with the interior build-out that still needed to be completed. This project also represents something that we've talked about quite a bit at several different city council meetings about the pent-up demand for industrial space in the community and why speculative manufacturing buildings like this one serve a great deal of purpose, and in this case, allow for one of our homegrown companies to continue to expand. Ultimate Hydroforming has been in the community since 1981, and like I've mentioned, they've grown, I think, quietly, but definitely forcefully over the years. They're a very diverse manufacturing company, everywhere from military to aerospace to automotive. The total investment in this project ultimately is about $5.4 million. That includes the total construction of the building cost, the internal build-out cost, and some machinery and equipment. On the application, there is a suggested job creation number of 5. The president from Ultimate Hydroforming, Shane Klein, is here and did inform me that they've already plan on, increase that number 5x, potentially even up to this year. So I think that's good news, a good sign for them, and a good sign, obviously, for us in the economy. The building, when it was constructed and essentially sitting vacant since 2017, has been generating about $54,000 a year in property taxes, essentially with no activity. And as a result of this investment, there will be an additional $18,000 of city tax revenue generated as a result of the investment, and about $165,000 in taxes generated over the term of this property tax abatement. The recommended term is 9 years. I have a feeling, however, based on their job creation numbers, that we may be back at some point in the future requesting an extension because they meet additional milestones on our tax abatement guidelines that they didn't anticipate at the time of this application. I would like to introduce Shane Klein, the president of Ultimate Hydroforming, so he can talk a little bit more about his company and what they're doing here in the community. Shane?
Good evening. Like Luke said, my name is Shane Klein, and we've done a lot of good things in the city. We started off in 1979 and primarily as a prototype shop, stampings, and we've increased over the years to really diversify and to meet our demands and to meet our customers' demands. And you've seen that in the diversification, both from a technical standpoint, a workforce, and I don't want to say it, I'm not a public speaker, but our expansion has grown to the point where we're taking on new adventures, and we can't do that without the commitment from the city of Sterling Heights, number one. We have no plans of leaving the city of Sterling Heights. You guys have been great to us, and you'll see, and we would invite you guys out to see our capabilities and what we've done and how we've grown. Some of the things are proprietary, and I can't talk about those, but if you get the opportunity to come out there, you will see some exceptional things, some exceptional people, and like I said, we can't do that without you. Part of this process came about when we felt and saw a need, mainly from our customers, the need to expand into more of a production intent. We're primarily prototype. We're not Ford, we're not Chrysler, we're not General Motors. We make onesie twosies, 50, 100, 500 parts. There's a need for assemblies in those volumes. So the opportunity came up to get into this building and to branch out into basically fully automating the production process in a prototype environment. So we will be building vehicles in this building from the ground up, and we'll be building up to 2,000, 3,000 vehicles. And a project came up where we made this commitment, and talking to Luke, we anticipated maybe 10 people at most. Since in the last 3 months, it's been 13 hires. We anticipate another 25 more. We've added 2 programs totaling about $12 million.
and we have a couple of opportunities to triple that. We're a small company, we're a $35 million shop, but you know, steps like this, we feel is what's going to take us to the next level. And, you know, again, we can't do that without help from you guys. By helping us, we can help the community, bring in employees, bring in revenue to the city. So it's like I tell my guys, we do it as a team, we do it together. You need us, we need you. So when we can all work together, things happen. So I want to thank you guys for your support.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Klein. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you. Yes.
I have no other comments.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bonner. I'll open up the public hearing. Is there anyone who'd like to speak on this item? Mr. Jefferson.
Again, Charles Jefferson, Sterling Heights. I would like to know how many of these jobs are going to go to Sterling Heights residents, and how many of these jobs are going to go to minority and or women in this environment. It's an important question to ask. I think you guys should demand that, because there's still people out there looking for work. They haven't got back to where they used to be, and there's an opportunity where they can get back maybe to where they were before the recession. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Jefferson. Anyone else on the public hearing? If not, I'll close the public hearing. And council, we need a motion.
Mayor Taylor,
Mrs. Schmidt.
resolve to adopt the resolution approving the application by Ultimate Hydroforming Incorporated for an industrial facilities tax exemption certificate at 42605 Van Dyke Avenue, parcel number 10-10-09-200-046 for a period of 9 years in accordance with the guidelines established by City Council, and the mayor and city clerk are hereby authorized to sign as applicable all documents required in conjunction with this approval.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion, Mrs. Schmidt?
Thank you, Mayor Taylor. Just some comments. Mr. Klein, I appreciate you staying in our city and expanding. From the sounds of it, you're going to have everything from entry-level positions to skilled trades to engineering positions. I think that's fantastic. As far as people applying for jobs, I would imagine that you are open to everyone. And I'm encouraged by your expansion in your investment of over $5 million in the city, and I look forward to your success. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Schmidt. Mrs. Zarko, anything?
Nothing.
Council, anything?
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Radke.
Mr. Klein, I really do appreciate your investment in our city, and I support that. I'm going to vote in favor of this, but I wanted to make a further point that, you know, we're abating between the city and school taxes $532,000 over 9 years. That's not a small amount. And I think that our council needs to start thinking about a community benefits agreement that we need to start doing for these abatements, because we go to the residents for tax increases for safe streets and other things, and we're abating $532,000 worth of taxes right here. So I think we need to start thinking about not just how we can help great businesses, and I'm glad you've been here since 1979. I don't think this is the wrong way at all, but also how these businesses can help contribute to our community a little bit more for the taxes we are abating. So I'm in support of this, but I just want to put that on people's agendas. Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Radke. Anyone else, council? If not, I'd say thank you again for your continued investment, and we look forward to your continued success. With all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on, the next item on our agenda tonight is the consent agenda. Is there anyone who'd like to speak on any item on tonight's consent agenda? Ms. Marcinak?
Again, good evening. I didn't think I was going to have so many speaking parts today. I'm asking you a question regarding agenda item number L, and that is to authorize the partial vacation of an existing water main easement in conjunction with the proposed Chaldean Community Foundation building addition at 3601 15 Mile in section 30 PSP 18-0030, EG 18-0024. My question is based on, for the record, I want to know if this moving of the water main is going to have any impact, negative impact on the masonry wall that's going to be coming up soon. So if somebody could answer that question, that would be great. Thank you.
Anyone else on the consent agenda? If not, council, we need a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Mrs. Koski.
move to approve the consent agenda as amended.
Support.
It's been moved and supported with no discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on our agenda is a consideration item to consider a First Amendment to the amended and restated conditional rezoning agreement for property situated on the north side of 15 Mile Road, west of Ryan Road, Section 30, case number PZ 18-0002, Chaldean Community Foundation. We have a presentation from our city planner, Chris McLeod. Mr. McLeod.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council, Mr. Vanderpool. At your last meeting, the discussion started in terms of, and the public hearing was held in regards to the potential waiving of the wall requirement for the Chaldean Foundation on the north side and there's the west side as well. At that meeting, the city council postponed action to this meeting specifically in an effort to allow the applicant to address concerns raised by council and raised by residents. Mr. Manna is continuing to work towards a solution that will hopefully meet the needs and goals of both council as well as the residents, and he has requested that he is afforded additional time to do that. So he has requested a postponement to the June 4th meeting in an effort to provide additional plans to council.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. McLeod. Anything else for tonight?
Not for tonight, sir.
Okay. Anyone in the audience like to speak on this item?
Good evening. Michael Lukasik. I live in Palmer Woods North, the condos that were in question. I passed out earlier some petitions to council from our residents, and there was also an addition to that which pertains to the ordinance for commercial dumpsters. And these petitions were obtained legally and ethically with verbal permission from Titan Management. These petitions represent property taxpayers and voters in our condo community. I have talked to each of the council members and invited them to come out and get a visual idea of what we're up against. As of today, 2 members of council came out to look for themselves. That was Mr. Yanis and Ms. Koski. I thank you for that. We're asking council to vote to build a wall north and south and east and west, as originally voted on in July of 2018. We are also asking that the dumpsters be moved to a different location and picked up at hours specified by the ordinance. Now, that being said, my deck and my master bedroom are 20 feet away from the privacy fence. Plus, our condos are on much higher ground. So when I stand on my deck, I am 3 to 4 feet above the top of the privacy fence. So while I'm grilling my burgers and steaks, I would be looking at and smelling this wonderful dumpster. Now that I would like to clarify my earlier remarks pertaining to our petitions. On Tuesday, April 16th, the day of the last council meeting, we had people from the Chaldean Center come to our door wanting us to sign their petition to save our fences. We declined and they proceeded to go to other condos. They were trespassing and illegally soliciting signatures without permission from Titan Management. The police were notified. Being a gated community, we do not allow any type of soliciting without verbal or written permission from Titan Management. I found this very disturbing that the Chaldean Center would try to deceive and misrepresent themselves to our residents. In closing, I would like to urge council to vote in favor of the tax-paying and voting residents of our condo community. I furthermore would urge the Chaldean Center, which is there to help people, to help our permanent residents and to put their bottom line aside and to do the right thing. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir. Anyone else who'd like to speak on this item?
Good evening. I'm Vivian Ramsey. I live at 3572 Davoff Drive. I am 20 feet from the fencing that we have right now. My deck is there. I went and walked it, measured it. I went around to the Chaldean Center. It's not 1,000 feet from the dumpster, which the ordinance says must be. Anywhere they put it on their back will not be 1,000 feet from that gentleman's deck or any of the deck along Davoff Drive. It is there for a reason. The council approved the ordinance. We should follow our ordinance that says it's supposed to be a wall for a reason. It used to be residential. It's not residential anymore. So therefore, the wall is there. A wall buffers noise. That's why 696 has a wall along there. And the people hadn't had that wall when they were doing the construction on 696. Can you imagine how much traffic they had? Service Drive, the dust thing, and this Chaldean Center is gonna be open till at 9 o'clock at night. Trust me. It started with just a little bit. If you got a gym and rec center and stuff, they're gonna be using it. That's understandable. I have no problem with them using it. But give us the wall. However you wanna do it, let them have their time. I don't mind them being there till 9 o'clock at night, but I wanna be on my deck at 9 o'clock at night, and I don't wanna have to hear the noise, and I don't wanna have to smell the garbage. The other thing is, just follow your ordinance. We have an ordinance for a reason. It's supposed to be 1,000 feet from residential, and it's not, and we were there first. So we want to share. Clean up. The dumpster is not being cleaned up. They dump the dumpster. You can hear it when it breaks down. I never see anybody out there cleaning up underneath that dumpster. At least once a week. They don't clean up underneath the dumpster. Come out, take a walk like I did, and you can see it. And when it gets warm, you can smell it. And the dumpster pickup time, there's the ordinance, 7 a.m. At 4/24, on April the 24th, they came at 5:55 a.m. April the 30th, they came at 5:38 a.m. On May 3rd, they came at 5:50 a.m. The ordinance says 7 a.m. and after. Let's work together. I'm willing for them to be there. Just abide by their rules, and we abide by our rules.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Anyone else on this item?
Good evening. I'm David Walker from Palmer Woods North Complex. And I just want to say the existing fence that's there is a shadow box type fence. It was designed as a divider between residential properties, not a business property. It's also an old fence, and it's, it's constantly needed to be repaired as it is. And I think that the foundation got their zoning approval based on following the rules that go with that. And I think it's only right that they follow those rules. Other than that, I mean, they're welcome to be there, but there are rules and they should follow them. All the properties along 15 Mile Road, if you've looked at them, all of them have their privacy fences up, or the wooden, the concrete walls up. And they've brought up the cost of the fence, and if they can afford $25 million on Van Dyke, they can also afford to put their wall up. If it's too much money for them, maybe they've overextended what they want to do at this time. That's all I got. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Anyone else on this item? Just hold on, Ms. Early.
Good evening. My name is Anna Lukasik, 3464 Davidoff Drive. My husband and I moved to Sterling Heights so we could have peace and a better quality of life. Our condo is 20 feet from the existing wood fence. We are on high ground and on a hill. This fence has been damaged often due to bad weather. If the wall is not built, we will be looking at the dumpster and parking lot from our bedroom window and deck. We also won't be able to barbecue or sit on our deck without smelling the garbage. We are awakened by the noise of the dumpster being picked up that is on the other end between 5:30 a.m. to 6 a.m. That is contrary to the city rules pertaining to the dumpster pickup times. Neighbors have seen and reported rats running on our properties. We don't want to be forced to move. All the council people should be on the side of their tax-paying good citizens who also voted for you. Developers come into the city, they do their projects, then most do not live in the Sterling Heights and have little concern for the residents that they may affect. It's the job of the council to protect the people they represent. After the Chaldean community got their zoning passed, why are you allowing them to break the ordinance law for building the wall all around as previously approved. All commercial buildings on 15 Mile have concrete walls. If the Chaldean community can afford to build this huge new addition that includes a gymnasium, a tennis court, outdoor eating, and a parking lot, which means there will be food in the dumpster, and also a $25 million four-story apartment complex on Van Dyke, then why can't they afford to build the wall according to the ordinance that was voted on and passed in July of 2018 by the council and was part of the reason the zoning passed? The Chaldean community say they are our good neighbors. Then why don't they care about helping us by giving us the wall, move the dumpsters up, and change the time of the pickup of the dumpsters, and address the rat problem? We are a gated community. Their people came in illegally and said if we didn't sign their paper, we would lose our fence. Some signed without being told the whole truth. I'm asking the council to put yourselves in our situation. If this happened in your neighborhood, I'm sure you would change things. The residents of Sterling Heights would find it very hard to understand why you wouldn't vote in our favor. Thank you.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Mrs. Early?
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members, and audience. I really don't understand why you are delaying this issue. All the residents are asking is to build a wall. The ordinance was created, it's a buffer between the commercial building and the residency. And it's true, it's really hard. I mean, you cannot go to their community. You need permission. If they wanted, they voted in that way for privacy, the wall should not be an issue. The Chaldean community is delaying this process themselves just because of wall. It doesn't make sense that the cost of the wall will make them delay a project like this. It's a great project, but they can work it out, and you should be able to vote this. Even if I was here last meeting, and I really didn't understand why you postponed it. And now it's a request to postpone it. How long are you going to be? The resident had to come here and ask for the same thing. Follow the ordinance. You created for a reason. Otherwise, you will not create it. Waiving it for this person, then the other ones are going to come after that. This is similar to a certain issue that you are aware of. You allow a group to do something, another group is going to come after them and try to do exactly the same. And then what are you going to tell them? Just follow the ordinance, build the wall. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Early. Anyone else? Mrs. Marcinek?
Good thing I have my speaking voice today. Again, good evening. Agenda item number 9. It's making quite a stir. It's even in today's Macomb Daily. What the Macomb Daily did not address was the severe rat problem in that area. And I'm really kind of ticked off about it myself. As a 50-year Sterling Heights resident, what the heck is going on? That in itself would demand a masonry boundary wall versus a shadow box fence on the Chaldean Community Foundation site. And speaking of a masonry wall, wouldn't that be a better safety feature for the abutting residents in the event of any vehicle, which, by the way, that's all going to go along that wall, north and west, that's parked along there versus a store-bought fence? I would think it would be a better feature. Now, I'm personally, and I know all of you. I don't know Ratke that well, but I'm a former council member, and I really cannot understand why the city officials and city council continuously give into the wants of special interest groups over and above the health, safety, security, well-being, and quality of life of Sterling Heights tax-paying residents. Especially this project is a tax-exempt facility. If the city council and the city administration continue in this fashion of letting amending the amendment to the amendment of the amendment, which is going on tonight, or will be going on the next meeting, June 4th, then I would suggest that the city ordinance regarding buffer walls, et cetera, be repealed and just have a free-for-all by leveling the playing field for everyone. Just repeal the whole thing. But I think you're going to be violating the own state zoning ordinance. So really, all of you, think before you really vote on this another zoning mishap, and you all know what I'm talking about. I'm going to give you just a little piece of history regarding the late Paul O'Reilly, who was the city attorney for the city of Sterling Heights, and actually he wrote the charter. As a member of council, Paul O'Reilly was adamant to all elected officials, management, city managers, department heads, and employees, never, ever, ever, ever give an air of impropriety. And I'll tell you what, when listening to the last council meeting regarding this issue, boy, were the colors, true colors coming out of everybody. Not everybody, pardon me, some people. So I just tell you this, the airs of impropriety were running rampant. So y'all, do what's right for the people of Sterling Heights. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Marcinek. Anyone else on this item? If not, council, we need a motion. There's two suggested actions. One is for postponement. Is there anyone who'd like to make a motion?
Mayor Taylor.
Mr. Radke.
Resolved to postpone consideration of the First Amendment to amended and restated conditional rezoning agreement for property situated on the north side of 15 Mile Road, west of Ryan Road, in Section 30, case number PZ 18-0002, to the June 4th, 2019 regular meeting.
Support.
It's been moved and supported with no discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion 6-1 passes. Postponed to the June 4th meeting. Motion carries. Moving on, next item on our agenda is communications from citizens. Is there anyone who'd like to speak on any item not on tonight's agenda? Take you, ma'am.
Ernestine Boggio, 38243 Arcola Drive, obviously Sterling Heights. Actually, I'm here this evening from Grace Christian Church, and I'm here to invite council, Mr. Vanderpool. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name.
Kashubski.
Thank you. Mr. Kashubski.
We get it wrong, too.
Thank you, and everyone. We came to Grace Church in 2007. We're now 5,000 plus members at that church. We share the location with Walmarts and a lot of other businesses. So this year, we're putting on a custom cars, bikes, and guitar show. We're going to have monster truck rides available. We're going to have live entertainment by Jerry Tittle and the Cadillac Cowboys. Monster Trucks is from Shell Camino, and you guys have used them at your Sterling Fest before. We're going to have all kinds of food and ice cream, swap meet, and we also have asked many of our businesses in the city. We'd like to highlight their businesses and let them come down. We enjoy a really good relationship with the city and with the people in the city and the businesses. So we have Buff Whalen, Crest Lincoln, or Van Dyke. I always want to call it Sterling Heights Dodge, and many other businesses. We picked up some new. We've got Linex, the chemical guys who just moved in at 60.5 Mile in Van Dyke, and they sell auto detailing supplies. But we would like to invite you and your family to come to our event. And it's going to be pretty nice. We're expecting a huge crowd of people, and it should be really great. And this, I'm in from Pastor Jerry Wazinski. So that's why I'm here. I thought I'd put a little positive into the meeting. Thank you for the opportunity.
All right, thank you very much, ma'am.
You guys have a good night.
You too. Who'd like to be next under communications? Thank you, sir.
Theron Savarna, I know I'm probably a year or two late on this, but I want to know what happened to the half farm and why it was torn down, and if that's part of Sterling Heights or Troy, but and what would be coming up there in the future. And the second thing is I wanted to know if you could tell me if there's any way that I could buy the city bonds that you guys are putting out, or if I have to find that information out on my own. That's all. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Anyone else under communications? Mr. Marshall owns.
Good evening once again. My name is Harry Marshalones. I'm a resident of Sterling Heights. I asked our clerk to pass out some documents. The one is just for you to take a look at, and hopefully we can address some of those issues at a later time. But the one that I'm interested in right now talking about is the development versus vacant land water absorption and filtration. I've been in contact with the county quite a bit, having to do with the problems they're having with contaminated water, if you will, going into the Great Lakes and typically into Anchor Bay area and polluting the park down at Metro. We did a little bit of research, and I think one of the things I really would like to encourage is the council to require the Planning Commission to include in the documentation required by developers that they need some environmental information, especially how they're going to handle water. Typically, when we look at rainwater, kids go out and play in the rain and everything, and the rain falls on them, they get all wet, and everyone has a great time. But if that same water landed on the streets and driveways and was flowing down the gutter of a street, you wouldn't want your children playing in the sewer attachment to the curb just before the water goes into the sewers. It would then be considered contaminated water. What I've done on this document here, just for an example, because a lot of people don't realize what we're dealing with. If you take a standard home that might be built in Sterling Heights, that would be 1,600 square feet. If you multiply the square feet times 144, you get how many square inches are in that square foot. Now, if you take a house with a floor area of 1,600 feet in a two-car attached garage, which has 396 feet, a front porch 104 feet, a back porch 300 feet, driveway 920 square feet, front sidewalk 5 feet wide by 60 feet wide, and that would be 300 feet, and half of the street in front of your house, just to the middle of the street, 60 feet of it, would be 18 by 60 or 1,080 feet. Multiplying that by 144, that means that cement or some kind of hard surface is covering 676,800 square inches of your property that used to be open for water to go down into the soil, be filtered, and due to gravity or whatever else, to flow back into the rivers and creeks and streams and go into the lake. But now that water goes into the street because you're either that or indirectly into the sewers, and the county has to deal with it. And they're already having problems. So basically, if we take that 676,800 square feet in a 1 inch rain, 1 inch of rainfall, the last day or so, actually, we measured 0.81 inches of rainfall.
Okay, Harry, we're going to have to leave it at there.
Okay. So basically, that's 2,900 gallons of water that would have gone in the ground now goes into the sewers.
Okay.
That's for one house. So if you could talk.
All right, thank you, Harry. Who'd like to be next under communications from citizens? Mr. Jefferson?
Charles Jefferson, Sterling Heights. I don't know where to start after that. Mr. Vanderpool, I see that the Polish market on Mount Air has a residence and they open for business. I thought I'd just let the community know because that building has been sitting there empty for a long time. That's 2 long time empty buildings this year that has residents being taken up. Maybe me and you go over there for lunch or something. But glad to see those buildings taken up. Mr. Vanderpool, can you tell us when you at the last meeting or the meeting before last, you were so happy to tell us about the STEM program camp that's coming up. Could you tell us when the trade camp is coming up? And the reason I bring that up because I was sitting there at the last budget meeting. They was talking about the DPW. We have to get people interested in trade, or we can't do the DPW work. As for example, tonight they was talking about the fire engine, and we have a special guy who works on fire engines. Who's going to take that guy's spot when he decides to retire? Or any other general maintenance that we have here for the police cars, the ambulance services, to fix up the DPW trucks. Those things are necessary here in Sterling Heights. So if you could find out when the next trade camp is coming up, could you tell the public about that? Also, I'm real serious about this. That's not the first time I've mentioned this, but I've mentioned this several times over the years. We do need these metal detectors down here at Sterling Heights inside this inside City Hall here, and I'm just not talking about for City Council meeting tonight, but I'm talking about when the doors open up in the morning until they close at night. We got this BS system here. I remember before, you could look and see if somebody was coming up to you from behind, you might be able to get out the way. But now we can't see ourselves here in the meeting no more, so that's a problem. So it's got to be discussed. Safety has got to be discussed now. Like I said before, it's not a mental health issue no more. It's not a gun control problem anymore. It's just about plain and simple being safe for the community, for the residents, for whoever. Think about yourself on that side. You would like for it to be safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jefferson. Anyone else on this item? Communications from citizens? If not, I'll close that portion. Go on to reports from city administration. Mr. Vanderpool, any follow-up tonight?
Thank you, Mayor. A couple of things. First, there was a question from earlier on the agenda regarding a utility line easement relocation. Pretty standard in developments like this. The relocation would not interfere with other structures, and or if it did, those structures would have to be modified or altered accordingly to make sure that the easement relocation could be accommodated. And there were a couple of questions under citizen comments. One was regarding the half barn, which was torn down. There is a development that's going on there. It's a shame to see a long-standing structure like that removed. However, property owner has a right to use their property to its highest and best use, and they legally can do so and met all the city's requirements. Schrodeck Market, at least a portion of it now is open. That is very good news. We expect another portion will be open in short order, in the final component within the next year. So it's moving along, albeit slowly. Proud to say that Macomb Community College, Warren Community Schools, and others do a really outstanding job working on providing trade educational opportunities and certifications, and they have very robust programs. I would encourage anyone who's interested in those vocations to visit their website. There was some comment regarding the need for metal detectors. We've reviewed that in the past, and we really think that having police officers present at our city council meetings affords us in the audience the protection that's necessary. They're outstanding, they're on guard, and they keep us safe. Metal detectors sound good, but there's a number of logistical issues, not to mention costs involved, and we think the current procedures are working very well. Thank you, Mayor.
It looks like the current procedure is just to lock the door and keep them out from this vantage point. Mr. Koszubski.
We do have 3 items tonight.
3 items tonight. Okay, I'll open it up to council for reports. New business. Anyone?
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Radke.
Mr. Marshallons, I appreciate the need for ideas about how to drain rainwater in our city, especially from non-porous surfaces. I believe during the budget hearings, I asked Ms. Varney to come back and talk to us about a rainwater drainage fee that might go into place for commercial businesses. Some other cities have implemented these. City of Detroit is the biggest one off the top of my head, but so has Grand Rapids and some other places. I'd like to investigate this. I'm not saying I'm for it or against it, but I think that we should be thinking about ways to lessen the amount of water that's draining into our sewers to prevent future infrastructure issues. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Radke. Anyone else tonight?
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Yanis.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to everybody who came out Saturday for Shine Day. I don't know how many people came out, but it was a lot. And I think we did, about 30 properties in one day. And I will say nobody works harder than Mark Vanderpool. Holy cow. That guy handled a rake. And, but it was a fantastic day. We did a lot of good for a lot of citizens who needed the help. I'm really proud of this city and the people who step up for it every single day, not just Shine Day, but all the volunteerism that goes on around here. So I just want to say thank you to everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Yanis. Anyone else, council? If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn into closed session.
So moved. Support.
Been moved and supported. Can we please have a roll call vote? Ms. Riska?
Mayor Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. Yanez?
Yes.
Mrs. Zerko?
Yes.
Mrs. Koski?
Yes.
Mr. Radke?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Mrs. Kresge?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries 7-0. We will adjourn into closed session. We may be returning. calling this meeting back to order. We are now out of recess. And Mrs. Schmidt, I'll give you the floor.
Resolved to authorize the city attorney to pursue all available remedies to abate the nuisance conditions and code violations existing at 15032 Rohan Drive and 2767 Pall Mall Drive.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion?
No.
Council, with no discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion? With no discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. This meeting is adjourned.